Hello, ESPC 21 community members. This is Christian Buckley, Microsoft MVP and Regional Director over here at AvePoint, and I'm joined today by this panel of amazing MVPs who join me to talk about the hybrid workplace and teams. So let's begin with introductions. Jump in. Who'd like to jump in first?
I'll go first alphabetically. I'm probably last, but that's okay. John White. I'm CTO and co-founder of a company's name is Unlimited Viz. We are the makers of tyGraph, analytical software for Microsoft 365.
All right. Should I go next? All right. Merethe SharePoint Stave from Norway. I'm an Office apps and services MVP, by the way, in my spare time. And in my daily work, I'm running around being a senior architect and as well as working with closely with Microsoft, so as a CCO. So yeah, quickly.
Excellent. My name is Eric Overfield, president, co-founder of Pixelmill, like the others, MVP and regional director. And really looking forward to this discussion. This is definitely top of mind of a lot of people I'm talking to.
And I know that there's been a lot of in interviews for speakers. It's come up in and people have sessions that are around this topic. And Microsoft has written a lot of content around this. And that's kind of where I want to start, I think, is let's looking at this broadly. Has there been a fundamental transformation in the way that people work?
Yes. Next question. Oh, sorry.
All right, let's move on.
Hopefully one of you expand upon that.
Yeah.
Well, from where I'm sitting, so personally there hasn't, because we have worked remote. We have worked like this for quite some time. We founded this company. We worked with BPOS back in the day, right? Business Productivity Online. That's before Office 365. Okay. So when I founded the company, it was with the vision of having a remote workforce, and it's worked rather well for us. I've been very pleased to see I've always been an advocate for it. And I've been very pleased to see the uptake of acceptance, whether it was forced or not, of remote working generally. I think there's an awful lot of good things to be said for it. Obviously, there's a few bad things, but I think on the whole, it's a huge productivity booster.
Yeah, and I would add to that. I mean, as I work for Cloudway, that's actually our company name. We actually have our office in the cloud only. So only time we are actually in the office is when we are visiting customers outside the COVID situation. But anyhow, now we only be working online with all our customers, and as far as I can see, they of course have changed because now they are all working online, working from home, and there's been a transformation. So it's going to be interesting now to see how we transform back into our offices again, but it with different offices, and we have started working differently compared to before, because we got used to having the online meetings.
Yes.
And it's going to be a challenge, I think, when you come back to your offices, and the offices might not be physically prepared for the increased amount of online meetings. Do you have enough meeting rooms, quiet areas, these things? So it's not only the technology, but actually the real estate, the physical walls and rooms and tables has to change, and the equipment, not at least.
Those open concept offices aren't appearing so smart these days, are they?
Well, it's funny. I think we're all biased, having worked in this space and being familiar with a lot of the technology. But it's interesting talking with customers and about some of their experiences throughout the last year and a half, especially. And there are several customers that have stated, like, we were actually surprised at how easy the transition was because they were already moving in that direction or already had tools and processes in place, as they were already going through issues of not finding the right people to hire locally. And so we're starting to have remote workers. And so they were already kind of in that. And maybe that's just part of the natural state of the growing gig economy, and going after the right people, the right resources where they live, and not then requiring them to move out. That was starting slowly to happen beforehand. But then there's others that were very much office centric. Like if I don't see you, then you must not be working kind of attitude. And I think a lot of those companies, those organizations struggled. And it'll be interesting to see how many of them snap back. Well, yeah. Well, there's good and bad about
Good
that.
that they struggle.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, good that they struggle. That's right.
Yeah,
Well,
we
let's-
see some difference. Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah. We see some difference in those that actually did some adoption and did some work prior to the situation. Because I spoke with a customer the other day, and she said, "Wow, even our employees are sending me thank you notes that we did this, and now we understand it." Because sometimes, when you run adoptions, you get a lot of no, we don't have time for this. But now when they actually went through that before the COVID situation, they're really happy, and now it becomes really much easier. But those that didn't do that, they had to really run fast when the Corona situation hit. So that's a bit of a struggle. And then you have to take care of everything else, like how you work with the content and all of that. That's a different ball game.
I was thinking too about just the topic, an even broader topic of the digital transformation. And one of the educational points that we had to make again and again and again, it's like digital transformation is not just about upgrading to the latest version of whatever technology that you're using, but it's actually stopping and looking at, here's the tools, here's our processes, here's our people. How do we use these things most efficiently? Are we weakest in our people processes or the process, the business systems? The tools are the least important of the three, but do we have the right ones that are going to be able to help us optimize on each of those things? That's what real digital transformation happens, is optimizing each of those components to get the highest level of performance. And I don't know that, I think that has also evolved and sped up with this transformation, but I think could also see as organizations get back to whatever the new normal is for them, whether they slip away from that path to more rapid, true digital transformation and go back into their old ways.
I don't know that by the way, I don't know that I agree with the contention that the tools are the least important of the three. I think they're at least equally important, because there are things that
they're equally important to the human beings, John. Is that what you're saying?
Well, in terms of the processes, right? There are some things, if the technology wasn't there to connect to other people, we wouldn't be able to do what we're doing today. So sure. I'd say it's pretty important, right? The technology itself will enable things, and I think it's important to realize that it's more than just automating the things that you've done before. Sometimes technology will come along and enable something that nobody thought of before, and you really need to sit back and re-examine the way you do things. And that's really what I think, the term digital transformation at least should mean, because you constantly need to re-examine the way you do things, and that what if you ask someone what they need, they'll tell you what they need with the constraints of what they know.
Yeah. And what
right. That's what I'm getting at.
Absolutely. Yeah. Digital transformation has to be about that. Re-looking at the processes and not just migrating it to digital, but thinking through what is it we're trying to accomplish at the end of the day.
So is digital transformation just a modern phrase for Kaizen? That process of continual improvement?
Sure.
Kind of.
Isn't digital transformation passé? That's so 2019, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
2 years old.
Which was like in dog years, that was like 30 years ago. I know.
Remember e-business? Same thing.
That's right. Well, let's go question number 2. So kind of building on that, talking about people specifically. So what are employee and even customer expectations for the hybrid workplace?
I could jump in on that one. What I'm seeing there is that that hybrid workplace should mean I should be able to work from all the different spots that I need to do and still be productive. So I'm at home, I'm in the office, I'm in a remote location because I have to be at a coffee shop because I can't be at the home. They want to be able to get all of their work done, however it is, and be just as productive no matter where they are. There's, of course, a little limitations because it's hard to have a video call in a Starbucks location, but that in general, that's what I'm seeing.
Just an observation. I was thinking about how, so many offices where, back when I was in a physical office space and I would pick up the phone rather than walk 2 doors down to somebody else's office, sometimes, not all the time, but to call them up. But we're doing that with teams and even talking with some friends in the product teams at Microsoft. who claimed like this before the pandemic, said like, I never go in the office, maybe 2 days a week, 1 or 2 days a week. Everything's online because the team is distributed all over the place. And I was thinking, the younger generation is really training for this, because be like, to get their attention, you text your kids who are sitting across the room on the couch. So they're used to that. Just that was kind of a joke about, yeah.
They will, but part of it, they will expect it though. I mean, it is, it's not completely wrong.
But from a customer perspective, though, it's like, I don't care where all of you are. Like I have this business process. If we're trying to solve something together, get them on the phone, get them on a video. Let's get us together. It's irrelevant the location. Wake up, Eric. It might be 12-hour difference.
I don't know about that piece, but definitely that wherever you are working, I should be able. We're working all here. We need to be able to communicate, just like in the office. That's that expectation for me.
You shouldn't care about where we are. But the other piece of that is there needs to be a change. You mentioned it before. If I can't see you, you're not working. What is that? I mean, what you should be focusing on is the results. I shouldn't care how long it took you to do it. Right? I shouldn't care if it took you 1 hour. If I got what I needed out of in terms of productivity, I should be very happy. That's the way that, frankly, we run our business.
So, John, I was just going to say, like, I've been working for companies that have built collaboration technology, including 3.5 years with Microsoft, but since the late 90s, and all of them had policies against working from home.
Yeah, including
we're building
Microsoft.
Collaboration technology to enable anyone anywhere in the world to come together, but you cannot work from home.
Yeah, it's
where's
insane.
the logic?
Because well, think about the non-productive worker. They can hide in an office environment. In this environment where you have to produce results, that's your output. Now that they get exposed, I think that's wonderful.
Things do become visible, and this would actually require more from the management. I mean, building a culture, and how are you as a manager managing your team? And I spoke with a friend today, and they had done a very bold move, or not. I think it's a really great move. But basically, they said to their employees, it's your responsibility how you get your work done and where you do it. You can come into your office or not. It's up to you. I was like, yes, they got it. They got it.
Yeah.
But that's because you build trust. And when you have trust, when your boss or a company gives you trust to say, hey, Merethe, I trust you. I know you're going to do whatever the best you can. Of course, I will deliver, because then you want to make good. You do good.
Results-driven versus process-driven. That's it.
So it sounds like in the hybrid workplace, I mean, it's all positives. There are absolutely no negatives whatsoever.
No negatives whatsoever.
So question number 3, from a business process and collaboration perspective, what kinds of gaps are you still seeing with organizations when it comes to the hybrid workplace?
I think a lot of it, there's obviously always room for the technology to improve, right? Can you hear me? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
You're muted, John.
Are we on?
Continue.
Sure, there's always going to be that, and there's always going to be better things, and it's going to get bigger, better, faster, wonderful. But I think the biggest gaps are human. And there are still far too many people out there who have that. If I can't see you, you're not working. Or and when it comes back to being in the office, if I see you, that means I can sit down and rob your time for half an hour talking about my weekend. That sort of thing. But I'd say the biggest gaps really are human. The technology seems we've done a pretty good job in the last year and a half with everybody using this stuff. So.
The technology is somewhat there for sure. I still like being in person on certain collaboration things, even when I'm using something like Whiteboard, which does help. I like to be in a room. I can be a little more productive. Being in there for 4 or 6 hours is hard to do that online. So I think that's a huge gap that I still like to see. But it is kind of a people thing. I mean, the technology sure can help, but it's also we want that interaction with people. And there's the gap around still the productivity. Again, it's a people issue of change into output driven, because a lot of us don't work 8-hour shifts anymore. We're working 12, 14-hour days some days, which is not bad because we're fitting our life in.
Yeah.
whereas before we couldn't. And the workplace allowing for that is a process problem. It's a people problem. Some cultures just aren't going to allow it. Some organizational cultures like, no, we need you in 9 hours a day, and that's it. We only want to work there. Okay, I get it. But the ones that are looking to be more flexible, adjusting to that and using your calendar properly and allowing for the output to be what drives the issue, not just, I want to see you working 9 hours a day. I have clients who are monitoring their employees' laptop usage, and they are checking every 15 minutes, every 10 minutes, automatically reported if you're not actively working. I mean, I personally find that silly, but that's you're saying it was a management issue. I kind of agree. But hey, that's that organization's culture. That's what they want. I disagree.
There was some backlash. When we had all these conversations when Microsoft with Insights and other kind of providing more data, and you had people like freaking out, like, so we're going to have these your office overlords like watching every step that you take, and it's like, look, this isn't the 1887 the beginning of industrial revolution type watching manufacturing line type thing. This is people aren't using it that way. Not to say that there aren't some crazy people out there, and if you find that your manager is looking at data in that way and say, I see that you have 27 chat messages that you never responded to, that you had that you're participating in. Like, time to look for a new job. That's like, there's other problems, deeper issues.
Yeah, maybe you might want to transfer to a different department if you can. Absolutely. Now, and I agree with you. I think that's. I question the organizations that are doing that, but hey, it's not my organization.
I think it's a maturity thing, and as companies and organizations are maturing into this, it's a mindset, and it takes time to change the mindset. But it's what I see is maybe a gap or that we need to work on is the digital well-being, and that is these analytics that can help. I like to see these weekly updates and status. Not that I have to follow them closely, but I can be more aware. Turn off notifications. I don't need a notification about the message in team in my email. I mean, hello. I know I'm live in Teams. I don't have to go to Outlook to find that alert that somebody messaged me in Teams. So just and actually, if you learn to manage the notifications in Teams and your Microsoft 365 platform, you can also do that in LinkedIn. Actually, you get more time to do your stuff. And peace and quiet.
Yeah. Eric and I were talking earlier this week, and I still like this analogy. It was like, I had experience where for a year I commuted on a motorcycle. I think Eric and I were talking about this. Right? So I was living in Sacramento, commuting for about a year on a motorcycle until my motorcycle got hit. Thankfully, with me not on it, it was parked. Somebody hit it. But I went back into a car. But I had this suddenly. I was so aware of motorcycles around me when I was back in a car, having gone through that experience and giving enough space and watching for that. And I think somewhat like that, the world collectively having this shared experience, I'm optimistic that some of that will sustain and that people will remember that, because for years I've worked remotely for over a decade. And one of the frustrations is no matter how well I think I collaborate with my team, it's so frequent that it's like nobody updated the status in the tools. Nobody thought to call the people that weren't sitting there physically in the office. Like all those things that I think even for those that go back in the office, they are going to be more aware of and more inclusive of others within their organization. I think that's a gap. That's a danger for organizations to be careful as they move back into part-time, full-time, whatever the hybrid looks like. And not forget the experience that they just lived through and that we could go through again and be prepared for. All right, so let's jump to question number 4. What is Microsoft Teams' role within the hybrid workplace?
I have a quick answer for that one as well. But I drank this Kool-Aid. I believe strongly, and it is for me as well. It's the operating system of my digital workspace. It is the application that I am in all the time, and I'm seeing more and more of my clients see this as well. They're like, yeah, that's team. Everyone has it now. We're all using it. The smart ones are starting to realize, what can we integrate more in it, because we have all these disparate tools. Let's get them within Teams. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's the bridge. Yeah.
I like
It's
that
almost,
analogy as
yeah.
well.
I've heard it described, the operating system of the cloud, or it's like a productivity system. It's like
Yeah.
at a higher level than an operating system. But yeah, it's the place you go. I've always called it a UI for Microsoft 365. It really
you
is
go.
kind of a
Yeah.
consistent.
Yep.
But
It's an OSS. It's the OSS.
Sure.
You know?
It's the portal, right?
It's-
I mean,
yeah.
we've had
Yeah.
these concepts before.
Yes.
It's that one place you go, but it does bring things together into a single location in what seems to be a pretty usable way.
There are gaps. There are
Yeah,
some,
of course.
technology things we'd like to see, but yeah, I've been living in the internet space for many years, and people are saying, "Oh, it's the new internet." Like, no, Teams is not that. It's broader than that. The internet still has a home as well. There's all these. There's still need for all these tools, and there's a lot of really cool third-party applications that are being developed total greenfield from scratch that are looking to integrate in Teams as well as outside of Teams that still help with productivity. So I see Teams as that one spot where I can get to all of the other things that I need.
Your garage. Yeah.
Yeah.
I seem to recall
It's the main
someone
menu.
saying that it's a hub for teamwork. I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Something like that.
But I also think that from an extensibility standpoint, I think that the still opportunities for improvement in with the Power Platform, but for organizations that want to go beyond that. I mean, traditionally, where you have more personalized and more deeply integrated other line of business applications, that are out there in the system, and the Power Platform, is one way that organizations can more tightly, weave together the disparate, solutions that are necessary for their business systems, and still use, again, Teams as that front end, that desktop for that experience. So I don't know if there's any gaps there specifically that you guys want to bring up.
Not I think of it, but one thing to add to that is that it actually dawned upon me just now is that one thing is a technology and a hub for collaboration, etc., as well as it is an enabler of digital competency, because or literacy, because it's straightforward. I mean, if everybody can more or less understand it if they've at least been on Facebook, and then as they start working together with others, it's lowers threshold to actually understand of the digital concepts.
Going back to the other question, I just thought of something. It's just that you brought that up. I completely agree with that, but it also it means that there is an even ever more important topic of governance around those things.
Exactly.
Because we are increasing the volume of
a lot
intellectual property that's being created of assets, digital assets, voice, video, text-based document, data, images, all those things, and it's just growing exponentially. And it's funny, I remember, like, again, early 90s, talking about doing a data warehouse move. We were talking about a couple 100 gig, and like we're stressing out about this massive project. And at the end of this project, it was going to be 1.2 terabytes. Like, I have a 4 terabyte, external drive that's nothing but music.
Yeah.
It has some videos that are on it. Yeah.
You don't want to see my setup.
I know. So it's ridiculous. So there are organizations that are creating exabytes of information a month, and it's speeding up. So we're moving in that direction. One last question here in the couple of minutes we have left here. In the next 5 years, what does the modern workplace look like?
The Matrix. Can I have a neural chat? No. 5 years.
Will we get through mind control keyboard? Will we be there yet, or is that more like 7-8 years out there?
I think it might be reasonable to get some level of a holographic projection, frankly, which could really, really help in these collaborative environments when you're talking to people, to get body language and all of the other nonverbal cues that you might be missing and staring at a flat panel all of the time. That's from a tech standpoint. I think we're going to see a lot more people, a lot more decentralized if the current trends follow. I mean, I'm just outside of Toronto. I've been out in the country. It's wonderful, by the way. I've been out in the country in the middle of nowhere. I can get all my work done here. I'm not burning all that gas and creating all of those emissions, you know, going into work and sitting there waiting in traffic all of the time. Maybe we don't have to build all those extra highways that we would have otherwise had to build. Now the real estate values in Toronto are starting to go down. They're starting to go up where I am, by the way, which is great. But you know, there's an awful lot of things, other problems that may start to go away. What's it going to look like? I think we're still going to have people in hubs, but we're going to have people, you know, again, all over the world. You'll be able to just join in, and hopefully that experience is, you know, we're ironing out some of the kinks in that experience. But you know, it looks like paradise to me.
I just don't see it in 5 years on some of that. I wish and I hope, but I just think that like the whole augmented reality stuff is just, it just seems too far away. But I'm more of an early adopter. I'm not that innovator or the hobbyist, whatever. Like that first round of people, I kind of wait till it hits mainstream, so I can be a little behind on that. I readily admit. I'm getting into 3D printing now. I think I'm beating the mainstream, but I'm not those early people. Same thing here. I just don't quite get the hologram stuff yet. I would love to see it, but hey, we'll see. I think hybrid is going to be huge in 5 years still. I think though, I really do believe there's going to be some organizations that are going to say you have to be on campus 40 hours a week, period. We're not allowed remote. I can definitely see that. I don't think that'll be the norm, which offers us all more opportunities for employment, which is nice. You can like pick the kind of environment you want, which I think will be good. So I think hybrid will be more normal. The kids that are coming into high school, that are getting into college or out of college, they're so used to this now. I was impressed to see just how quickly the millennials could change a lot of the workplace. I think the same thing's going to happen. The 20-somethings now that are getting out of college and are just, this is what they're used to, they're going to demand it. And they are. Most organizations will work with them on that. And the talent you can get, and some of the talent that you can get, so that you can look anywhere in a region, not just, you know, my region, I mean maybe country or multiple time zones, is just going to be too good. And the digital tools will continue to evolve. I just don't know if there's going to be big groundbreaking things, but hey, I wouldn't have said this team in Slacks was going to be this big 3 years or 4 years ago.
Yeah, it's hard to predict the future, and I
3 years maybe,
and I have no idea. Yeah, I have no idea.
Well,
but what I see,
it's hard.
Bitcoin will take over. I don't know.
What I see is, and I hope for maybe more is, it's the correct word, is the increased inclusion, because we are all in the same boat now, more or less. So we have more empathy already. I see that the way we communicate and have meetings, and we give more slack to each other, basically, because we all have, you know, the dog barking and the kids running in the background. These kind of makes are more human. Basically, you not have to be that completely correct all the time. And also people who maybe before had trouble coming into an office because of some disabilities or anything, it's more inclusive now, because they can actually work from home and the technology can help. And there's so much exciting things going on also, if you look at the wider spectrum of technology, that can help more people be engaged in the workplace. So that's what I'm hoping, at least hoping for. Yeah, everybody
I
something.
agree. I think there definitely will be more movement there, which is great. I would say in 5 years, the Teams, I do think Teams will still be around. I think it will look like Teams, but it will have a new interface if you actually just took a 5-year snapshot, because Microsoft evolves like crazy. 20% maybe, 15%, or maybe you'll say 50, I don't know. Percent of the features we're using now won't be there anymore. Microsoft will just said that they're not being used enough, but we'll see new features that none of us maybe see yet in 5 years. Microsoft is innovating very fast in some ways. And so I still think that Teams will be an important component. Now, if you said 10 years, I'm sure there'll be a new Teams in 10 years. There'll be something new. There just always is.
As long as it's not built on Electron, I'm happy.
That's right. And with that note, we're going to wrap it up. Thank you so much to the panel for participating. I know we could go on and talk for a couple hours on this. There's a lot to go in here, especially when we start talking about the future predictions. And of course, we will capture all of that and come back in 5 to 7 years.
Exactly.
Of course. So thank you, and thank you to everybody that's watching, and enjoy the rest of the ESPC conference.
Thanks for having us. Take care. Stay safe.